On the very first day of her marriage to the prince, the woman was cruelly thrown into a bottomless abyss by her new husband. Fortunately, she was caught by a dry branch, which saved her life. When Jessie regained consciousness, she shouted for help toward the cave's entrance, but no one responded. Desperate, she began climbing toward the top of the cave, but the rock walls were smooth and offered no footholds. Searching for another way out, she soon discovered a cave glowing with a faint blue light. However, to reach it, she had to cross a deep, unfathomable chasm. Gathering all her courage, Jessie leaped across. Her injured leg almost gave way, nearly sending her into the depths. But at the last moment, a chain from her clothing caught in a crevice, stabilizing her body. Pulling out a dagger from her pocket, she climbed with all her strength until she reached the platform. The source of the blue glow turned out to be insects and the luminous liquid they secreted. Jessie tore off a piece of her clothing, filled it with the glowing insects, and created a makeshift lamp. Inside the cave, she found a small pool of water. Parched, she tried to drink from it, but it was filthy and undrinkable. She could only quench her thirst with drops of melting ice dripping from above. Just as she closed her eyes to savor the cool water, the ice pillar suddenly began to melt faster. A terrible creature emerged through the steam and dropped into the cave. Terrified, Jessie hid in the shadows, narrowly escaping its pursuit. When the monster left, Jessie noticed strange markings on the cave wall, and scattered nearby were the tattered clothes of many dead girls. Horrified, she realized these were victims like herself. Young women deceived by the prince and sent here as sacrifices to the beast. Exhausted, Jessie rested against the cold stone wall. When she awoke, she found a cluster of fireflies clinging to her feet. As she brushed them off, she noticed her once open wound had miraculously healed. Stunned, Jessie tested this by placing a firefly on her arm. The small cut there closed almost instantly. Rejuvenated and filled with hope, Jessie examined the markings on the wall, a crude map. From it, she learned that following the indicated path could lead to another exit. Someone had escaped before. After carving her own name beside theirs, she followed the narrow passage, using the glowing insects for light. Eventually, she reached an area where sunlight streamed in through crystal formations. Spotting a crown lying on the ground, she tore off part of her long skirt, wrapping it around her arms and legs for protection, and began climbing upward. Suddenly, a dark shadow appeared above her. The monster had returned, letting out a bone-chilling roar. In a desperate moment, Jessie used the crown to hook onto a protruding rock and pulled herself to safety. When she finally reached the opening, she realized it led to a sheer cliff with no way down. Despair overwhelmed her. Just as she was about to give up, the distant sound of horse hooves echoed. Jessie waved her arms and shouted for help. But before anyone could arrive, the monster swooped toward her again. She stumbled back into a corner and discovered a skeleton, the remains of the woman who had drawn the map. The poor soul had never escaped. As the monster opened its jaws to breathe fire, Jessie braced herself. But before the flames came, a sudden shout echoed through the cavern, interrupting the beast's attack. It turned toward the sound and flew off to investigate. Recognizing her father's voice, Jessie's heart leapt. She turned to run toward him, but accidentally stumbled into the creature's lair. Inside, she saw another crown and the lifeless bodies of 3 small dragons. In that instant, the truth dawned on her. Years ago, the monster's mother, a mighty dragon, had laid 3 eggs. But just as the babies were about to hatch, the king ordered their execution. As their cries filled the air, the mother dragon appeared, furious beyond measure. Her flames consumed everything in sight. Realizing the disaster he had brought upon the kingdom, the king fell to his knees and begged for mercy, offering anything to atone. The dragon demanded retribution. He must sacrifice his own 3 daughters in exchange for her slain children. From that day onward, every new king was bound to offer 3 royal daughters before his coronation to appease the dragon's wrath. But no king could bear to kill his own children. So they devised a cruel deception, luring innocent girls into false royal marriages, only to throw them into the dragon's lair as sacrifices after the wedding. Jessie was one of those victims. Meanwhile, her father and a group of soldiers entered the dragon's den to save her. But faced with the colossal beast, the men were utterly powerless. Within moments, they were torn apart. Despite his fear, Jessie's father refused to retreat. He drew his sword and charged forward to save his daughter. Jesse, watching from afar, saw him pierced through the chest by the dragon's claws. His agonized scream echoed through the cavern. The mother dragon turned, sensing Jesse's presence. Jesse ducked behind a rock to hide. Just then, a fleeing soldier accidentally made a noise, diverting the dragon's attention. The beast charged after the soldiers, giving Jesse a chance to reach her father. Gasping for breath, he handed her a rope and whispered his final words, telling her to climb to safety. Her stepmother and sister would be waiting outside. Holding back tears, Jesse began her climb. But the dragon quickly realized it had been deceived. Enraged, it crushed the remaining soldiers and then soared upward, chasing Jesse relentlessly. Flames roared behind her as she climbed higher and higher. At the last moment, she reached the top and escaped the cave. Knowing the dragon wouldn't stop, she mounted a white horse and galloped toward the sea. But the dragon burst from the mountain, wings spread wide and eyes blazing. Jesse knew she couldn't outrun it. She leapt off her horse and hid beneath a massive rock. When the dragon caught up, it attacked the horse instead. Realizing she had been tricked, the beast unleashed its fury, setting the forest ablaze. From the castle, the queen saw the inferno and instantly understood what had happened. Believing Jesse had angered the dragon, she ordered soldiers to seize Jesse's sister and throw her off the cliff as a new sacrifice. When Jesse finally reunited with her stepmother, she learned the horrible truth, that her sister had been taken. Determined to rescue her, Jesse set off once again toward the dragon's lair. Drawing upon her previous experience, she prepared carefully. She recreated her glowing firefly lamp, used the filthy cave water to hide her scent, and gathered the discarded weapons of fallen soldiers. She built a crude time delay mechanism to distract the dragon and armed herself with a sword. Before long, the dragon heard the mechanical noise and lunged toward it, believing Jesse had returned. Seizing the chance, Jesse found her sister deep inside the cave, but she was gravely injured and unable to move. The moment the dragon realized it had been fooled, it turned back in fury. Jesse hid her sister and prepared to face the beast alone. She shouted the truth to the dragon, that the royal family had deceived it for generations. The kings never sacrificed their own daughters, but instead used innocent girls like her. The dragon refused to believe her words and attacked with flames. Jesse drew her sword, but the force of the fire knocked her into the underground lake. Crawling out, she grabbed her sword again, but the dragon tackled her, slamming her to the ground. Jesse pulled a dagger from her chest wound and struck, blinding one of the dragon's eyes. She rose to her feet, repeating that she wasn't royal blood. But the dragon didn't believe her. It could smell the royal scent on her skin. With no other choice, Jesse drove her sword into the dragon's palm, freeing herself. As the dragon grew even angrier, Jesse deliberately stood near a large boulder, provoking it to breathe fire.
Burn me!
The flames rebounded, engulfing the dragon itself. It let out a shrill cry and collapsed. Jesse stepped forward, extending her hand. She explained that during royal weddings, a ritual cut was made on the prince's hand, allowing royal blood to enter the bride's body, marking her as royal. This was how the kings had deceived the dragon for centuries. Jesse raised her sword but could not bring herself to strike. She realized they were both victims. Only by joining forces could they destroy the true evil, the royal family. Jesse used the glowing fireflies to heal the dragon's wounds. Then she returned alone to the castle. Inside the grand hall, another wedding ceremony was underway. The prince was once again deceiving innocent girls. Jesse stepped onto the stage, freed the new bride, and shouted for everyone to flee while they still could. The queen sneered, confident in her power. At that moment, a thunderous roar shook the castle. The dragon appeared above, wings spread wide. Flames engulfed the kingdom, turning the royal palace into ashes. Jesse walked away from the burning castle as the dragon soared overhead, no longer an enemy, but a guardian, taking her father's place to protect her from that day forward. Please give a like and subscribe for more interesting videos like this. Thanks for watching.